All right, folks. So now that we know that XRP is a digital token, not a security, we have clarity. The trillion-dollar question is on-demand liquidity going to go live in the United States? We're going to talk about it in today's update, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you appreciate this content, give us that thumbs up. Huge shout out to the XRP army. The vibes are still incredible over here. Now, the market's starting to cool back off from where it was at, 30,900 for Bitcoin, 1969 for Ethereum, and XRP back down to 73 cents. Now, this XRP chart is just absolutely obnoxious when you look at this thing. That massive green candle that came in yesterday, bringing us all the way up to 93 cents on the Qcoin chart. And you know, pretty incredible here to see that pump all the way up. What do we get? 94.7 actually on Qcoin yesterday. Now the exchanges did go down, having many issues, just like we warned about during this moment in time. Mad rush, mad FOMO into XRP, and many exchanges are starting to relist it. This party is getting started, and we absolutely love to see it. And we're getting acknowledgement from the likes of Larry Fink running BlackRock. Says this today: the CEO of BlackRock, 9 trillion asset manager, predicts that cryptocurrencies will surpass traditional currencies worldwide because of their increasing global popularity. So as I've been talking about, XRP also serving as a reserve currency for banks, institutions, and folks like you and me who are holding it as a reserve currency, but then we also have plans to use it for utility, to provide liquidity. Automated market makers liquidity pools on the way. NFTs just came in for XRP. So the utility is getting ramped up. We got the green light for clarity. And now you're seeing traditional folks, BlackRock, Larry Fink, CEO, saying that cryptocurrencies will surpass traditional currencies worldwide. We combine that with the fact of the BRICS summit taking place next month, where they're going to be talking about how they are disrupting the US dollar reserve currency status, potentially launching their gold-backed reserve currency. And so you are starting to see the alternative currencies to the world reserve currency, the US dollar, are presenting themselves. This is the beginning of something absolutely massive. Now we're seeing it across the world. Now that we have clarity in the United States, you're seeing other countries move too. The European Banking Authority has recently emphasized the urgent need for the early adoption of standardized regulations for stablecoins. So they're moving quickly. The United States finally catching up. Let's get the breakdown from John Deaton, and a huge shout out to John for all the work that he has done over there. If you guys haven't already, please make sure that you follow John Deaton. He says, sitting on a train on my way to visit Fox Business and the great Charlie Payne for his 2 p.m. show. We will be tuning in for that one for sure, John. Thank you. He says, I've been listening to many decipher the ruling. One thing I can say is confirmation bias is a real thing. We all suffer from it, including me. But I remember very clearly when the Ripple complaint was filed. Unlike many others, I maintained from the beginning that it was a weak complaint as long as you ignore the noise contained in the complaint. But many people who rightly or wrongly dislike Ripple and think they're bad for the ecosystem focus too much on the noise. The SEC used fraud-like language in a non-fraud case. They did it to inflame people within the industry. It was a divide and conquer strategy. For example, the complaint asserted that Brad Garlinghouse said he was very long XRP, but sold some of his XRP. So what? If you're being paid in XRP as part of your compensation, of course you're going to sell some of it. If you have a billion XRP and sell 100 million, you're still very long XRP. But people get blinded by the noise, and then the confirmation bias kicks in. So people argued Ripple is going to lose because XRP is clearly a security. In the meantime, they ignored the grossly overbroad and made-up theory the SEC was arguing. The SEC argued all past, present, and future sales of XRP were all securities transactions. When I read that, I was like, is the SEC insane to try and extend Howey in perpetuity from earlier transactions and efforts, the original scheme, contract, or transaction? The complaint even extended into future hypotheticals. It stated even if a foreign country adopted or recognized XRP as a currency in the future, it will only be because of Ripple's efforts and will still constitute a security. That's absolutely insane. Yet people were like, Ripple dumped on retail and did this and did that. My point was then limit the damn allegations to only include Ripple sales. But if this theory isn't challenged, it could apply to all tokens. When I sued the SEC, I was called the pro-Ripple lawyer. Some even said he must be being paid by Ripple. The SEC, and I can relate to John Dean because folks think that I'm paid by Ripple. And actually, I got a compliment from someone recently. They thought, we thought you were paid by Ripple because your presentation is so professional. So I did appreciate that compliment, but I absolutely am not paid by Ripple. And to this day, I still have not taken any sponsorship checks. We do have our affiliate links on down below if you need some precious metals, though, or you need to get hooked up by one of our cryptocurrency exchanges. But no sponsorship checks over here. The SEC called me a disgruntled investor who's mad that he picked the wrong token. Yet I own 10 times more in Bitcoin than XRP. I owned 3 or 4 times more in Ethereum than XRP at the time. This case, as always, has always been about the law and fighting gross overreach. There isn't a case in history where an investment contract was found when no privity existed between the buyer and issuer or promoter. There isn't a case in history the SEC could cite that found a second sale of an investment contract to also be an investment contract. There wasn't a case in history in an investment contract transaction that found the underlying asset to itself be a security. There wasn't a case in history that the SEC could cite that found the underlying asset embodied all the efforts of the promoter and therefore the asset itself represents the investment contract. The SEC enforcement lawyers were making this shit up as the case progressed. For example, the common enterprise was first Ripple. Ripple got them to admit XRP holders are entitled to anything from Ripple. Then the SEC relied on a hack of an expert who claimed the common enterprise was the entire XRP ecosystem, including exchanges and every XRP holder in the world, and testified that XRP holders had to rely on Ripple even though he didn't interview a single holder of XRP. We helped get that clown's opinions excluded, and then the SEC argued XRP, the token itself, represented the common enterprise. The judge smacked that all down and simply applied Howey to each type of sale. The law won, the SEC lost. Absolutely love to see. Absolutely love to see it. God bless John Deaton in the fight that he helped us. And the $1 trillion question that we bring ourselves to now is, what is going to happen with on-demand liquidity in the US? So David Schwartz chimes in. He says, we're still figuring this out. We don't currently have on-demand liquidity related sales with the US Nexus, and not being able to do so is not really a huge deal. We can still do ODL in the US so long as XRP is never sourced from Ripple. Now, I was just in a Twitter space and they were going back and forth and saying that on-demand liquidity in the US can't be fired up and it can't be done. And then I shared this tweet and I said, no, it's pretty dang clear from David's own words here. They're still figuring it out how to get XRP into the hands of these institutions. But clearly, as the judge ordered, sales to exchanges are not a security. And then sales from exchanges to an institution that wants to use ODL would not be a security. So let's not get lost in the sauce. Let's not confuse the facts. It's very simple. All they have to do is get XRP from an exchange. All they have to do is get XRP from you or me. They just can't source the XRP directly from Ripple in an investment contract. That's the one part of this case that is going to continue, is those early sales that were in types of options, different contracts to distribute XRP. That is the question that continues on in this court battle. And we're going to get to see. But we do have some precedent. We do get to see. And what this did is really allow for institutions who already have XRP or who can get XRP from an exchange or in any other way that they can get XRP, they will be able to use on-demand liquidity, guys. It is time to flip the switch. And we've heard from partners that, Ripple has had for years, like Bank of America, that they are waiting. Bank of America to partner with Ripple for ODL services after XRP lawsuit finishes. So they already have partnered with Ripple. They already have an agreement, a relationship in the works that's been happening since 2018. But we heard them say themselves that they were excited to use on-demand liquidity, which settles with XRP, after the lawsuit concludes. So now we know parts of the lawsuit will continue, and the question is, how will Bank of America be able to get that XRP? Well, there's a potential that they already did. Right? Now, whether or not that sale was a security or not is a fine that gets paid by Ripple. That is not of concern really to Bank of America. They're now in possession of a digital token. And now if they go to sell, if they go to use it for utility, there is no investment contract. There is no securities issue. So that's an issue that Ripple will have to fight out. And it's an issue for getting XRP into the hands of other banks and institutions that want it now. But all it takes is Ripple selling to an exchange and then that exchange selling to that bank or institution. So, the over-the-counter sales that were taking place, the OTC sales that were taking place to institutions. That's still in question, but there are other ways to get XRP in the hands of these banks and institutions, and we know that they're excited to use XRP ODL. Now, what this does, though, is that this removes the ability for VCs and mega funds to get their crypto from these companies without going through the open market. Adam Cochran says this: now every US VC mega fund has to either one, buy on the open market, or convince a coin to file a Reg D filing to sell them, which gets messy and costly. Billions in risk capital seeking VC level returns from early projects now has to come into the real market. Now, this won't be too big of a deal, right? We have precedent that's already been filed in the Kik case. And what happened with Kik, just to remind everybody, is that basically they were served a $5 million fine for some of their early sales, and they basically fast-tracked Kik for all future sales and just said that going forward, you guys need to report, and you're going to have your filings, your Reg D filings, to be able to sell your tokens going forward. And I have the SEC filing right here. You guys can't read that, but I'll read off what it says. The final judgment permanently enjoins Kik from violating the registration provisions of Sections 5A and 5C of the Securities Act of 1933. Kik is further required for the next 3 years to provide notice to the Commission before engaging in enumerated future issuance, offers, sales, and transfers of digital assets. Kik will also pay a $5 million fine. So what I think is really likely is either a settlement, or if this does go on to trial, the deal will be done where some of these early sales, some of these contracts, yeah, they met the Howey test. Yes, they were a securities offering. You're going to have to pay a big fine. It's not going to be $5 million. It's, might be $100 million, might be $589 million. Who knows, right? The lawsuit is for $1.3 billion. Excuse me. But I don't think that they're going to get that full amount. But, this is the perfect time for settlement to come in, where Ripple just says, okay, you got us on these early sales. The options contract that we gave to R3 for 5 billion XRP back in 2016 for under a penny. What a smoking options contract that was for R3. That was an investment contract because there was expectations on both sides. R3 was expecting something from Ripple, right? And Ripple was expecting something from R3. And so Ripple can just cut that check for 50 million, 100 million, 500 million and proceed further. And then going forward, they know, okay, if we want to sell our XRP to institutions, we know how to do so where it's not an investment contract. And I think that many people are confused in a lot of speculation, obviously circulating on, is Ripple not going to be able to sell to institutions anymore? That's not going to be the case. And I still think that they can even sell to institutions without the, as long as it's not tied up in any sort of investment contract or an option. If Ripple is just selling XRP for US dollars to an institution or an accredited investor or a bank, that's just a sell of the digital token. There's no prongs of the Howey test met there, right? And so in my opinion, I'm not a legal expert, that they would still be in the clear to do that. They just wouldn't be in the clear to do the pre-allocation contracts, the options contracts, where there's expectations of profit and this and that add and meet the Howey prong test. But if Ripple's just going to sell 1 billion XRP to Bank of America, that's not an investment contract. That's a sale of a digital token, just like a sale to the exchanges, right? So how would that be an offering of a security? It wouldn't, right? Just because they're an institution doesn't mean that it's a sale of a security. Just because they're an accredited investor doesn't mean that it's a sale of a security, right? But when you tie in the options contract, when you tie in lockup time, right? A lot of these sales that Ripple did, they said, we're going to give you a bunch of XRP and we're going to give you at a good deal, but you got to promise not to dump. Now that brings in those prongs of the Howey test, right? So we're going to have to watch this one closely, but the precedent that this sets for everybody else trying to get crypto is going to be very interesting. Now, Bitfinex shared this one. He says, the Ripple decision actually means that Tether is a security since they sell them to institutional investors at a discount up to 40%. So one Tether for 60 cents. And we've been talking about Tether for a while. We've been talking about the rest of the space thinks that this is going to give them clarity. I don't think that is the case. And I think that a lot of the space here still has a lot of unraveling to do. The initial bump that the whole space got off the news from XRP was good. We're already starting to cool back off, and I still think that we have a lot to clear up. But I was in a space today, and folks are talking about, are they going to go after Ethereum? What does Bitcoin still have clarity? This and that. The beautiful thing about that is that I don't hold Ethereum. I don't hold Bitcoin. So I really don't care, right? All the folks that didn't care about us in the XRP community, and they didn't care about us delusional XRP holders and you stupid XRP army folks. Now, the tide has changed, hasn't it? Right? The table shifted. And now I don't care. Right? As far as Ethereum being a security or not, it makes for a good debate. It makes for good conversation. But at the end of the day, I get to sleep peacefully at night knowing that I hold a digital token. I don't have to worry on whether or not I hold a security anymore. So have fun with the debate back and forth on this and that and who the SEC is going to go after next. And we still are going to continue our fight exposing the SEC, absolutely. But we've long been saying we can't defend the folks that did ICOs for a project that wasn't developed out yet, that did raise funds and offer a security. We can't help them out. The Howey test is long-standing law that goes back to the 1930s that does relate to many of these ICO offerings. We can't save you, right? And why should we save you after all the crap that you guys gave us? For me, it's not about tribalism. I want the level playing field. But, what do you want us to do? Right? You guys did the ICOs. You guys did the nonsense, all the other scams and frauds that were, in perpetuity here that are still going on in the space. We can't help them out. So with that being said, I think it's just amazing to finally, the weight's been lifted off our shoulders. We can sleep peacefully at now, and now we can start to build. That's what I'm excited about as well. Now, continuing on, don't forget that XRP was registered as a virtual currency by FinCEN after a settlement back in 2015. And now we know, so FinCEN defined it as a virtual currency. Judge Torres called it a digital token, not a security. And then we also have environmental standards, carbon neutral. So this is making XRP the most regulated crypto in the United States. We're going to sleep like a baby tonight, aren't we? Now, Anders also shared this one. Remember, even JP Morgan acknowledging what was at stake here, saying that if the company is able to win the SEC lawsuit and trading resumes on major cryptocurrency exchanges like Coinbase, XRP is poised for significant adoption. This party is just getting started. And now it's being reported from Link2. Linda P. Jones shares this. Ripple shares on Link2 are currently up 16% since Tuesday, but still down roughly 29% from its all-time high on the Link2 market. So you guys are starting to see the front running on Ripple private equity, Ripple shares. And Brad Garlinghouse speaking on the interview that he did this morning. If you guys missed that, I caught the full recording of the interview, and it'll be shared up here, and I'll have another video right here. You guys can go watch some of the content that we dropped this morning as well. But Brad basically was speaking on the IPO, and he said that they're definitely considering their options, and they may even be looking at IPOing outside of the United States is a conversation and speculation that's being shared now too. And so the other thing too that you have to consider is that. He said, we're considering all options for our employees getting liquidity for their shares. You have platforms like Link2 and others that are now bringing liquidity to the private equity market, and specifically Ripple pre-IPO shares. And so, I know that Ripple's talked about going public, and I understand why they want to. And I definitely see the benefit of potentially even going outside the United States, because as Brad said, the SEC is still not friendly. We're still not in a friendly market. Like, yes, we have clarity on XRP, but this case is still going on. And they may even appeal the ruling from the judge, right? So we're still not really in a friendly jurisdiction. And if Ripple's still in the middle of a lawsuit with the SEC and they try to IPO, or if they just defeated the SEC, who knows what the SEC is going to do to stall up and make them jump through hurdles to actually do the IPO offering, right? So this is something that we're going to have to watch. I think that if we do get a settlement with Ripple and the SEC, that would clear up the path for them to IPO here in the United States, right? After they cut a big check to good guy Gary Gensler, they shake the hands, they have a good time. Gary gets to come on out and say, claim victory, right? That will free up and open up the opportunity, I think, for Ripple to IPO in the United States. But there's going to be plenty of folks across the world that want to get in on this private equity. And so going public in another market makes much sense to me as well. I mean, look at the headquarters that they just set up in Dubai. Talk about finding some liquidity. Let's go get some of that money over there in Dubai. Sounds like a good plan to me. As Brad starts to plan out the proper party, folks, this is so exciting. It's such an amazing time to be in the XRP community and then in the broader crypto community as a whole. For those that are trying to do legitimate things using this technology, this case will apply. This will have precedent for the legitimate actors who didn't do ICOs, didn't commit the fraud and all sorts of other schemes, and didn't offer up their token and raise money with a project that wasn't built out or sufficiently decentralized, right? That is going to be key, is the facts and the circumstances around each individual project. The SEC still has plenty of ammunition, plenty of projects to turn those crosshairs onto, but we are now in the clear, and the trillion-dollar question is, who is going to be the first institution in the United States to fire up on-demand liquidity? Let me know in the comments down below. My pick is Bank of America. I truly believe that Bank of America is going to be the first one to announce that they're using on-demand liquidity, and then they are going to announce that, yes, they've have added XRP to their balance sheet. That's my speculation. You guys let me know in the comments down below how you feel, and let's make sure that we smash that thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and everything else is over at my website, ZachRector.com. I appreciate all of you guys. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.